Great. Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Today is Tuesday, October 20th.
I can't believe it.
How about it, Lisa?
Oh my gosh.
Well, we are so excited. We are in the LaPorte Schools Administration Building, the old Boston Middle School. If you haven't been here, it's absolutely gorgeous. And they're doing wonderful things here at LaPorte Schools. Not only have they navigated this COVID situation beautifully, but we are so fortunate to have their superintendent, Mark Francisconi. We have Sarah Fine, and we have Mario Rosa as our guest today. So very, very excited. And again, briefly, Tuesday at 10, our programs are Healthy Families, where we go into the homes. We do that virtually now, about 120 families, to prevent child abuse. We also have our public education, where we are in the LaPorte schools, some one-on-one presentations, some virtual, where we empower children to take care of their bodies, that if they're in question of something going on, that they tell someone. And if they tell someone and it doesn't work, what to do, and tell someone else until they get the help they need. And we also have our Child Advocacy Center, where we collaborate with Department of Child Services. And if there's a situation where there's a child abuse, we do the interviews, and it's the beginning of the healing process for the child and the family. Very powerful. We're 30 years old and very proud of the integrity and the respect of the climate at Dunbar. So thank you for joining us. Lisa Scheller, I'd like to welcome you. Lisa is our Director of Development, and she's going to talk a little bit about what's happening at Dunbar.
Yeah, absolutely. Good morning. Good morning. So, as Jeanette had mentioned, our programs are happening, and they're happening virtually, and they're happening a little bit in person as we navigate our way through the COVID here. Fundraising, as we all know, in the nonprofit world, we need to keep up with those funds coming in because, that's what makes our programs happen. So, Dubrook is funded in three ways. They're funded through grants and foundations, through special events, and through businesses and individuals who contribute to Dubrook. And this year, because of the COVID, we had to cancel two of our big special events that bring in lots of money for Dubrook. So we've had to turn to virtual and do some creative fundraising through our gala as well as our grading book races. And we just want you to know that we still continue and welcome gifts from people. If you want to donate, $5, $10, $30, $100, what have you, you can text Tuesday at 10, 41444. It's on the screen here. Or you can go to doombrook.org, and there's a big button that says donate now, and just push the button and it will take you through the process of donating. We have some exciting things coming up for the year-end giving opportunities. We have Giving Tuesday on December 1st, and over the next couple of weeks, we'll be announcing some of those great things that we were going to do to bring our year to an end that you can help participate in. Also, just want to check out the All Fun and Books that Sarah Hoyt, our public education director, has been putting together on our website. And this week is Good Night Moon, so it talks about good night.
Love that story.
Yep, and then there's an activity, bedtime routines, and it gives you 9 different tips on how to help your wife get to sleep. And those are all about making it a family priority, deal with your sleep troubles, work as a team, routine. We always hear about that with children, that you have to have a routine. So check out those 9 tips on our website and also on our Facebook page. So other than that, I know we have those 3 great guests today, so we want to make sure that we get their time. So,
yeah, great. Lisa, thank you so much. So without further ado, we'll welcome our first guest, which is the Superintendent of LaPorte Schools, Mark Francisconi. Thank you, Mark, for joining us. We're so excited to have Mark. And Mark has really a lifetime of being in education. So maybe, Mark, we'll just start off with a little bit about you and tell us about your background for some people who may not know what you've been doing in the world of education your whole life.
Well, believe it or not, I started teaching in 1987, and I taught for 7 years before going on into administration. I either wanted to coach, head baseball coach, or administration. When I saw more opportunities in administration, I went that way. And so actually my first experience in administration was in Union Township or Wheeler for 2 or 3 years, and then went on to high school assistant principal at Portage. Then I came to Michigan City, probably 98. Was there for 2 years when I was a junior, senior high. So it was 8-9 configuration. administration there.
Right.
And then after 2 years there, I was the principal of Michigan City High School for 10 years.
10 years at Michigan City High School.
Then eventually had all the while throughout my educational experiences had lived and resided somewhere in the Fort County.
Great, great.
So as I was moving on, as my children were getting a little bit older, and as a high school principal, wanted to try to spend more time with them as well, and they were about that age in high school when I ended up coming to LaPorte. I was here for 3 years as assistant superintendent, and years all run together, but I think I'm in my sixth or seventh year as superintendent now. So.
That's wonderful. Mark, honestly, as I said to Sarah and Mario, thank you. Thank you. Education is fun and exciting, but it's very difficult, and it's very difficult in this time. So I just want to say for the consistency and the experience and the knowledge that you have that you've stuck in education, because it's not easy, and I can imagine being a superintendent is not easy, so just thank you. I just want to say thank you. You're very talented, and we're really lucky to have you. So your family is here, and you've been here a long time. Maybe can you give us a little idea of what, given your experience in this county for so many years, how you've seen things develop over the years?
Yes, I'm proud of our county. I've seen a lot of growth within the county, and I think having experience in Michigan City for all those years, and now coming to LaPorte, I still have connections. Like I'm very close with Dr. Easton Watkins. We talk a lot through this whole COVID thing, but I've seen connections where walls were before, and I don't think it's just in the education. I've seen it having a pretty good understanding of the community businesses and chambers, and even the different types of councils and so forth that have to work together with common money. I've seen some growth there, and I'm really proud of the work we're pulling together and breaking some of those barriers at a time now where, of course, the nation is divided, and I think some of those things have helped us through this process and this situation we're in right now.
Right. So in other words, I think that's really interesting for people to hear that Dr. Francisconi, Mark Francisconi, and Dr. Barbara Easton Watkins with Michigan City Area Schools work together and learn from each other and share good information. And even though sometimes we think the Michigan City LaPorte thing is a little bit, divided, we're not in so many ways, because when you have the leaders of our community working together, it's really nice for people to hear.
Sure. The history on that was that I was the principal of the high school when Dr. Easton Watkins came on board, so I knew her very well.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we were superintendent through different groups and professional organizations. And really through COVID, I think it's brought us together in the fact that I talked with her. There were periods where it was daily, evenings, just because there's so many things that are out there, and we try to learn from each other and bounce things off each other. And if something's working for somebody, we try to share that, and just to try to stay half a step ahead. Plus, I think the community as well. As we just said, we want the community to be united to some extent. So there's some sense of that the schools can work together even with the program, because we have people that are obviously living in LaPorte. Their kids might be here or working in Michigan City, and vice versa. And so some fluidity with that as much as possible. We try to work through that with some consistency.
That's great. And if we haven't learned one thing from this COVID, the silver lining is, and Lisa is our gal who came up with the theme of we are all in this together. No matter who wins the election, no matter what side you're on, we got to figure this out together, even though we have differences. So that's what you're saying, Mark. I think your whole career has been like that, where you collaborate with everyone, and the fact that they trust you to be respectful and share and work together, even though you might be on different schools, is a wonderful thing. So again, thank you for that, Mark. Maybe we can go into, give our audience a brief idea of what's happening in LaPorte school system given the pandemic and given COVID from the beginning till now.
It's been a journey ever since the governor announced, and sometime in March, that we were closing.
Yes.
The anticipation was there as to, okay, we're closed, and however bad this is, and how we're going to provide programming is one thing. But all along, the bigger question was, what's it going to have to look like for us to get back? Are we going to eradicate this totally, or is it going to, are we waiting for a vaccine or what? And everybody kept waiting throughout the whole summer, trying to do everything they could to plan ahead. Everyone was trying to grab onto something that could assure our parents and our staff members. But the whole nation was trying to grab onto that, and it just never really surfaced, and it's still not here.
Right.
So throughout all this, I can say that we're very proud of our staff and our community members. It's human nature to have questions. Everybody wants assurance.
Sure.
How can I be assured of this, and how can I? And the unfortunate thing about all this is that there are no true assurances. That you have to try to consider and weigh plus minus. Try to provide things as safe as an atmosphere as possible, but all throughout this understanding that it's not going to go away. And even in the future, it's going to be similar to some sort of a virus that might happen annually.
Sure.
And so how do we move on?
Right.
And I think that as a nation, as we've gone along with this, that shutting down is what we were thinking initially. And then now we said, well, maybe you don't have to shut everything down, but maybe you can do this. And so through the phases of the governor's plan,
Right.
we tried to follow some of those. Really, as schools, though, we were absent from the governor's plans about reentry, so we really had to stick our necks out there.
Yeah.
And every community being different is what led it to some schools doing some things a little bit different. But overall, we're pleased with what we were able to do to get going in person with a large number of students, and then as well to be able to provide home schooling.
Yes. You have a choice.
Right. So in the end, that'll be something that will continue.
Yes.
So we've grown in that respect.
Right.
I think that services that we provide as a school corporation, whether the atmosphere with COVID is good or bad, we will continue to provide that element of programming regardless of
That's great.
the virus, because it fits for
Sure.
And we
For
have
some.
thought some really talented teachers throughout this that just thrive on this. And I
Yeah.
think
They jump to the opportunity.
Right. That's been exciting to see all along.
It is. And that is, again, the silver lining, is that having been forced to be creative and come up with new ways to get curriculum out and set, look what's happened. You have,
Right. The big decisions that I make are, do we go, do we not go? And then in the meantime, we have people like Mario and Sarah with family services here.
right.
And then the staff members that, okay, we're going to go, and let's all pull together. And that's what we've seen throughout this, both with the teachers and with the students. So proud of them for, who would have guessed that we could get first graders to wear masks like they're doing?
Right.
And of course, we need to go get beyond the compliance and understand why it is that you're wearing it, so that we're not just teaching them to march in line, and that's the fear of socialistic kind of fear about all this thing. But we want them to understand why they're wearing them and when they can have a mask break and why that is. And that's a journey. But as far as the teachers, social distancing as much as possible, and their some of the things they've done is amazing.
Yeah. Teachers are
thinking
right.
and so forth. So once we get past, are we going to go back? People kicked it into gear, and I think we chilled.
Yeah,
right now,
really.
Yeah, because it continues. And of course,
Right.
we're at a time now where some of the students are coming back. This is 9 weeks. We're at the 9 weeks break.
Right.
Some of them have opted to come back, and I think where we're at was probably 40 or 50. It might have been more. I think it was close to 70% decided to come back.
Wow.
But we still have that percentage that are out there.
Sure. So again, a shout out to the teachers of LaPorte schools, every level, who have jumped in. And is that not the passion of teachers? They want to make it work. So they creatively came up with ideas to make it work. So how
Right. And there was a lot to learn from this as well. Like I said, not just through this process. So one of the things I've learned is at the elementary level, of course, you realize this, is that connection between the teachers and the students is huge. And that was one of the things that the teachers mentioned that they not only missed, but they knew for sure that the students missed last year when we were totally down.
Right.
And very little contact if any, and we were still working on technology at that point. So the e-learning, as we were doing at that time, was better than the alternative, but it was not where we wanted it to be, and we're still working on that.
Yeah.
But the new distance type of learning academies, we're growing with that sort of connection. But that was, and so Zoom has been huge.
Yes.
But
So
regardless, those students need that connection.
Yeah.
And like you said, and that's basically the business of Input. We try to provide safe havens, meet the needs of students, and those needs weren't being met. That was one of the big concerns with us about students not being able to be in person. Because sometimes their home life is not.
Right. So
they're safer at school, get more attention at school, learn more at school.
Right. It's a safety, school for many is a safety net.
Right.
And to not have that relationship with their teachers, who are fabulous people, was a real loss, is what you're saying.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Very interesting, Mark. And finally, is there anything, tips for parents that as a superintendent that you want to highlight that might be interesting for them to hear?
We've tried to do everything as much as possible on our website that we're communicating.
Website.
This would be helpful here, and I think we need to do more videos because you can write stuff on the website and post it up there, but it doesn't take the place up face to face. And so I think we're going to try to continue to do more of that. But all the resources through are on the website, and one of the great things about Mario and Sarah is that they've been connecting people to those things. And Mario helps us, whereas 4 or 5 years ago we would never even have translated something into Spanish. And I look at that now and I can't even believe that that's where we were at. I mean, those people were just out there, and I can remember 3 or 4 years ago, Mario and I went to some local masses just to try to connect with our audience there. What can we do? What do you need? And Mario's been huge with that, and it gives me chills right now. No, he's connected us. But bottom line is that everything that we're trying to do is to guarantee and communicate across the board, not just with certain people. So translate for the tips and information that some of our Hispanic parents never had access to. So we want to encourage them to continue to work with us and let us know how we can continue to meet their needs and translate things. The website's been a huge educational tool for us, trying to keep people half step ahead of COVID with the different phases, so we encourage people to look there. For years, websites were static. The lunch menus there. No one gets on up in the morning and says, I'm going to go look and see what's going on at school website. It was, you go to Fox News, you go to Southern World. There are new things now, especially with COVID, and hopefully in the future continue, not just when it's something like a pandemic, but just regarding what we're doing here.
Every day, going on.
So we encourage people to continue to look towards that website, or some of the biggest tips. And of course, one of the things we have seen through COVID, as far as tips, are that we can do everything we can here at school to be socially distanced, students wearing masks and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
Of the numbers that we've posted on our website so far of positive cases, 99.9% of the positive cases that we have as employees or students were exposed outside of school.
Okay.
So we can't just, I know a lot of us like to just lay back on the weekends or whatever.
Right.
We have to be very conscious. And even though, and this is a tough thing because even though it's family members, you could be around for a lot. Many of us have experienced this. If the family members are out in another gathering and they come back home, they bring it there. So I think people think they're safe because they're with their family. But there are just always these connections that are out there that we have to be aware of so that we can continue to try to do everything possible. Thankfully, the positive cases we have in, like I said, have not been spread within the corporation to our knowledge. So that's good. Credit to everybody.
That's really good.
But as well, that those cases that we know of were very minimal, if any, symptoms. So that's
Great.
the numbers will continue to go up regarding the cases. So we can't continue to be scared of that. What we can do is learn from the ones we have
Yes.
seen and hopefully dispel some of the myths that it's a terminal if
Yes.
you get it.
Yes.
And there are some cases that continue to go to the hospital and end up in the hospital. But those are fewer now than they were when we first started this journey.
Well, Mark, thank you. That is wonderful advice. So again, parents, look at that website. Students, look at that website. Check that. That is a new habit to form, if you would, in the
Right.
morning. Check in just as you would any news channel that you see in the morning. And also with COVID, that to be diligent outside of school. You know, all of us, we talked about that before we started this morning. We sometimes forget. Well, now is not the time to forget, especially with the holidays coming up and family gatherings. You know, rethink what you're going to do because that affects what happens in school. And we definitely want to keep the success that you have seen because of your hard work and your staff and your wonderful teachers and wonderful students and parents
Right.
who took the leap, the emotional leap and risk to come, and it's working. So we need to be diligent. So, Mark, thank you so much. Is there anything else you'd like to?
Well, thank you for all you do.
Oh,
We
thank
continue to look forward to our collaboration
Yes.
and growth. When you come in and provide students with information and parents about safety and body safety and
Right.
just obviously helping us identify and work with students who have any needs.
Yes.
We'll continue to do that, and that's what fit with our
Yeah.
human resource
Great.
services. So,
Great.
yeah.
Well, Mark, wonderful to see you. Thank you so very much for being here. We know you're so busy. So thank you for being here. All right. Take care, Mark. And next we have, join us is Miss Sarah Fine. And Sarah's going to talk to us a little bit, another individual who's been in education for years and years. Sarah, maybe you can go ahead and start off a little bit about you and your history and what you've done in school systems.
Yeah, actually I've worked in a number of different settings, but working in the education field is my very favorite place to work because I think that's where you can have the biggest impact. I've been fortunate to be given opportunities throughout my career to develop programming basically that meets the needs of students and parents. So I'm very blessed in that way. But I started out working in residential treatment and worked in some psychiatric partial hospitalization programs before I actually entered into the school setting. I'm a licensed clinical social worker and a licensed school social worker, and I've had the great opportunity to work with wonderful people along my career. And so when I started working in the school system, I worked first with early intervention, so working with that ages 3 to 5 population, and those are students that they were finally being diagnosed after the first couple of years in life, and sometimes you don't know development, is my child on target or are they not on target? And so when they came to me in that setting, they had just realized that there were some areas that weren't developing as intended or typically in the same developmental milestones and meeting those. So, and then I became a social worker at a school in an early childhood center, and I got to do some community involvement there. I continued to work with the preschool population. Then I made the move to the Midwest, back to my home territory, basically. And I worked in a couple hospital settings, just temporarily, because I knew my heart really was in education. So I had the opportunity to work and develop a program, a federal program called Even Start. It was a family literacy program in Michigan City School Corporation. So I've known Mark and I've known Maura for quite some time because we both have roots in Michigan City School Corporation before we come here. And so I developed that program and ran it and got introduced to grant writing and data-driven programming and development and so forth. And then from there, I developed a school-based mentoring program called Hours for Hours in Michigan City. Michigan City. So that was a wonderful, I did that for about 4 years. And that was an initiative between the Chamber of Commerce in Michigan City and provided the seed money for that. And then developed it, and that program is still in existence today. And then I went and I expanded a little bit further. I had some great mentors along the way to be able to do this, but I oversaw student services in Michigan City schools for a number of years. And then eventually, I took a few other little trips along the way in my career, but then I've been working here in Laporte probably for about 5 years now. And I love here, working with a great bunch of people. And here I'm the director of SEL, which is Social Emotional Learning Intervention. So I have a great team that I work with, and we've been given the opportunity to do and expand programming that helps support children with not just academically, but maybe kind of outside that academic box and working in the other areas that feed into being successful academically.
Sarah talked to me a little bit about the idea that her SEL work is holistic, and I don't know that parents understand how great that is, that not only do you look at the academic support for children in all the ages, K through 12, but you look at the emotional and physical and mental.
Yeah, we know so much more about the brain and brain development. They call it neuroscience or neurobiology, but it's really about the brain and how it works and how our brain is impacts the choices that we make. And for our kids, the social emotional learning aspect, a lot of the skills are still taught in home, but I think they have even greater application today in the educational setting. We know, because like I said, brain development, how the brain impacts how we learn. And those little, the brain, how it misfires from time to time, and it can create challenges for kids in the educational process. So how can we give them the tools that they need to be able to stay focused so that their social emotional needs do not interfere with their success academically, and how can we support them in that journey? So many things happen developmentally for kids from the time they enter school until when they leave and are launched out into their young adulthood. And I think there's just a much greater awareness about how the brain impacts the social emotional.
Well, and as Mark talked, and we talked before, Sarah, I think the beauty of what you have done here in this system, and probably your whole life, is listening to the needs of students, listening to the needs of parents, listening to teachers and what they need. Because listening and finding out what they need, not what we think they need, but what they need, has really added to all the wonderful things you've done for them.
Yeah, I think, I've been, like I said, blessed in my career to have experiences that have kind of built upon one another, so that, as you mentioned earlier, just give you a broader lens in which to look at education and look at children and child development and parenting. And the role of a parent is probably one of the most challenging roles a person can ever have. But it also can reap some of the greatest rewards as well. But I see that what we're doing here in Laporte schools is that we know that we can't operate in a silo. We know that we have expertise opportunity, whether it's staff such as Junebrook and agencies such as Junebrook and many others, that we have to work together. That no one of us can continue to recreate the wheel, but each one of us has a special spoke within that wheel that complements another. And so that's where Barry, I don't want to steal his thunder, but he'll talk a little bit more about that. How do we reach out to the community and so forth? But with the social emotional learning, I kind of get back with it briefly, is that we've been very intentional about looking at how can we nurture that social emotional development for our students. So we actually have programming here in the Laporte Community School Corporation in grades K through 10 right now that focuses on social emotional learning. And so we had done some research and looked at what curriculums out there that are research-based that can really help us in that area. So we settled upon a curriculum called Second Steps. It's a national research-based curriculum that's used across the country. And we use the Second Steps curriculum in grades K through 8. And then in grades 9 and 10, we use Optimum life skill training, which has a little bit more of a drug prevention slant to it, but also deals with some of the life skill development too. But the nice thing about these programs, especially the Second Step program, is that it has a parent component to it. And I love that about the curriculum. So yes, we can teach the skills and the activities in the classroom, but we can also expand that then back into the home environment because there is a parent component to the curriculum, which is wonderful. So what we do in the school can be duplicated, or we can learn, it can be learned in an application to at home. So we were reinforcing a consistency in how we can approach kids and encourage kids' social emotional growth through that. So that's one of the things I really love about that curriculum.
Sarah, that is such great information. Thank you. And I don't know that parents always realize all that goes on behind the scenes to help our students holistically. So thank you for all that you do. Would there be tips for any parents who are watching who maybe their child is struggling with some emotional piece or family struggles? What advice might you give them as far as how to reach out to the school system?
Yeah, I would say, first of all, they're probably not alone, especially in these times. So I think the more that we can come together and utilize the resources that are available to us, we actually, not just through the Second Steps curriculum, but also through our family resource services. We call now family and community engagement services.
Right.
Basis as a short term for that. We have put small little short videos for parents online.
Oh, great.
About the social emotional curriculum, what to expect, what is your child learning. And there's different ways that we have found different avenues to integrate that. So the message is consistent, but the ways in which the message is delivered is different because you can't just assume that everybody's going to go to an email address or a Facebook account or whatever. So we're trying to send that consistency out there. But I would just encourage them to know that they're not alone, that there are people out there that, in fact, are probably experiencing many of the same things that you are. And we live in a very anxiety-producing culture right now. But we're not alone. We're all in this together. That's where we'll be able to rise above and be there for not only ourselves, but for most importantly, our future generations.
Sarah, thank you so very much for everything. That's wonderful news and very enlightening, especially as you say in this time. And we are all in this together and we want to work together. So parents, please reach out to LaPorte Schools. And Sarah, thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having us. Thank you for what you do as well.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And next we have Mr. Mario Rosa. And they are a wonderful team, Sarah Klein and Mario. And how fun, Sarah, that you talked about the fact that you've all worked together for years, not only in LaPorte Schools, but there is great value in that. So Mario, thank you. One of my favorite all-time people who I've known same thing for years and years and years. So Mario, can you tell us a little bit about you and your history in the world of education?
Well, my history actually started back in the 70s. When I like to tell people that I am a product of the Jerry Speed, and good things come out of Jerry and I'm on it.
Yay!
And so, when I graduated from Marcel High, my track coach, Marcus Gonzalez, knew that I was actually local. So he said, come work for me. He was the principal, or assistant principal at Kennedy Middle School. So for 3 years, I worked in the morning, and then in the evenings I went to pre-Cal Mill.
Okay.
And so that was my initial entry. As I think about it, I'm sitting here listening to the impact that teachers have. And I had one teacher that really made a difference in my life, and that was Frankie McCall, my French teacher. And we maintained a relationship for 40 years.
Wow.
And until she passed, and we would meet on a regular basis. And if I had issues that I wanted to get scratching my head, so to speak, I wouldn't hesitate to call Madame up and say, Madame, I have a problem. Can you help me with this? And so she was very quick to sit down with me, and so that's the kind of impact that we would want our teachers to have in the district, and being able to I think that every one of us here in this room right now can think of at least one teacher that made a difference in our lives. Right? So I've been involved in the education social services since then. I've worn many different hats, whether it was on the education side or working with workforce development, and then working for the state of Indiana as director for BEADS, and then making my way back to Michigan City Schools and my relationship with Sarah and Maya.
Right.
And I still have a relationship with those folks.
Yeah, and that's a wonderful thing about you, Mario. And Mario, of course, maybe you can lean into your engagement with the Hispanic-speaking community. And one, what is that about, and how do does that community reach out to you if they're in need?
Well, I think that, as I mentioned earlier, I wear different hats.
Yes.
I've never really taken off my hat as a personal director because guess what? Our parents and students need jobs. So I've always wearing that hat. But one of the hats that I wear is the Mario hat. Okay? If you would ask for somebody out in this community and ask, where does Mario live? How can I find Mario lives? They couldn't tell you where he lives. And if you ask them where the Mario is, oh, he's right over there.
There you
go. Awesome. You can find him there. Okay? And so my relationship, I've always been involved in the Hispanic community, whether it's in Barry or in South Bend and here in LaPorte County. But one of the things that I've been able to do is to build a relationship with the community because there are needs. Just like any other community, there are specific needs. The thing that makes it a little bit more difficult is language barrier. And my first language is Spanish, so it's a blessing to be able to take that language and be able to use it to help the community.
Right. Well, you used the word blessing, and I think you are a blessing, Mario. I know you're my go-to person because Dunebrook has many Spanish-speaking clients, and we have home visitors with our Healthy Families where we go into the homes and we have Spanish-speaking home visitors. Mm-hmm. So, Mario, you've always been a great resource to me, and I'm very, very appreciative. Well, we're appreciative of you, and I mean that because the community is growing, the Hispanic community, particularly here in LaPorte, correct? Correct. And I think during this political time, which has been very challenging, some in the Hispanic community have been almost afraid to reach out and ask for help.
It's interesting because I can't exactly remember where I saw the statistic, but LaPorte County as a whole had a drop in population. But it's very steady because we have an increase in the numbers of Hispanics that have come in. And so that's a good thing.
Right.
The community is growing and it's becoming more diverse just by
nature.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And so it's a great thing. And I think that this morning I had 3 or 4 phone calls from teachers who wanted me to contact parents, and we were able to communicate and deal with some of the issues that they're dealing with and try and help them. I think one of the things that we had talked earlier is 20% for scholars. I'm finding
yes.
Not just Hispanic students. In fact, 7th and 8th graders in general are not signing up for a tremendous program. $28,800 per year for 4 years in any state institution. And so, why not?
Right. So you wear many hats, and but particularly with the Hispanic community or anyone, 21st century scholars or workforce.
I take appointments.
There you go. You take appointments. And Mario, how do you convince parents who might be listening, who might be afraid or hesitant to reach out to you for whatever reason? What might you say to them that would encourage them to call the school system and ask for Mario for information for any of the issues both Mark and Sarah have talked about today that you might be involved in? What might you say to them?
I just would say that we're accessible. We're not here to fill space. We want to be able to help the community.
Right.
And I think it's important that they know that this room that you're sitting in right now, Sarah contended that it was empty. And as I work with Mark and Dr. Larson, I will tell you that we're very appreciative because Dr. Larson tends to think that my mind is going all the time. And it is, okay? And one of the things that I mentioned to her last week was, you know what? I have a whole lot of buildings I want to fill with opportunities for our community.
Right.
It's not about just this room.
Right.
And I've got a whole 3rd floor. Okay? And what I'd like to do is to take the room and the space and provide services for our community. And they're accredited. Maybe it's an Ivy Tech that will come and give classes. Maybe it's Purdue. Maybe, well, we know that we're going to be working with Dunebrook, and that we have been kind of given the go-ahead this past week that we can start working with agencies now that want to come in and provide services in-house. So I know Dunebrook would be one. I know we've got a couple banks that are looking at providing financial services costs for our parents. And so, as we begin to look, we just recently, probably next week, will end our parent survey. So as we look at the results from that parent survey, that's going to kind of dictate what things we're going to be providing for the rest of this year and beyond that.
Well, that is very exciting, Mario. Thank you so very much
Thank
for
you.
your time today and all that you do, and for all the administrators, the teachers, the students, and families who are working together through this. And I think that's unique with LaPorte Schools, that they are a collaborative effort. And I would end today with saying, as Mark talked about teaching children why it's important to wear face masks. I mean, not only to keep ourselves safe, but we're helping the community to keep safe. So it is, we're all in this together idea that it's important to reach out for help, reach out to Mario, reach out to anyone in the school system, reach out to your teacher via email if you have a problem, because there are so many resources available. Yes.
By the way, 362-7056, extension 81711.
You want to say that slower?
362-7056, extension 81711.
Very nice. Thank you, Mario. And if you forget that number or can't hear that number, look at their website, as Mark said, to get on. And Jane Larson, again, has been another wonderful administrator here doing a fabulous job, and they work together as a beautiful team. So, again, thank you, LaPorte Schools. And we'll end with be kind to yourselves during this time, because that's really important. It is kind of a crazy time on many fronts, and be kind to others, not only in your own family, but out and about in the world. It will make us work better together. So thank you, and everyone have a wonderful week. See you next Tuesday.